your views matter.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. This is Attorney Shah Peerally for the Shah Peerally Law Show. Assalamu alaikum, Sastakar, namaskar to all the listeners. And today we are going to talk, of course, about immigration. And I have Michael with me on the board. Thank you, Michael, for coming during the shelter times. It's really, I know it's hard on everybody. The stress is really kind of high on everybody, and we apologize. Sometimes we might have technical problems, so I apologize in advance, but understand that we are all kind of working. And today, whatever I'm going to tell you is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. And of course, we are going to discuss about immigration, and hopefully I'll have Attorney Sharif joining me in a few. But right now, we're going to talk a little bit what's happening on the immigration front. For one, we have this suspension, but as we discussed a few weeks that this immigration suspension is not really affecting a lot of people inside the U.S. We'll have to wait and see how this thing unfolds. And it doesn't seem like really there is some kind of at least understanding from all the sides what is going on. And USCIS is still accepting cases, and we are getting approvals, which is, thanks God, we're still getting that. And we are dealing with a lot of self-petitions because people are losing their jobs. As you know, this is one of the things that COVID-19 is really kind of killing the whole economy, and that's going to have repercussions on many. Some people are saying almost 100,000 to 150,000 H-1Bs will be losing their jobs. And I can understand that. But at the same time, there are new jobs being created, especially in the medical field or what we call in the pharmaceutical field. So let's see how things are going to unfold. But again, you know, we don't have a lot of hope things are going to get better right now. But ultimately it will. So we need to kind of hang in there. Although I think a lot of things are going to change. It's not going to be the normal that we are used to. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to be normal, because there's no way things are going to go back to normal with so much unemployment. Having said that, there are many things you can do to protect yourself. For one, if you are losing status and you know you're losing your job, etc., especially if you're an H-1B or L-1, and the grace period, you're coming close to the grace period and you're not getting any job, we recommend that you file an I-539 B1, B2 visa with the I-539A. At least keep it pending so that you don't lose some kind of legal position here, because I don't want to call it a status. It's not a status. All it gives you while spending is a period of authorized stay, and you need that in order to kind of keep things going. So I really need to I really appreciate that you are listening to the show today, and I know it's very hard. A lot of people just staying home, and staying home is not really it's not really kind of easy, to be honest. Most of us are pretty much kind of going to difficulties, and that doesn't exclude people on H-1B or other visas. So now, one of the things that we are seeing also, there's a movement I have on the visa bulletin, I think, for EB2. It jumped a little bit, and EB3 also, but ultimately, a lot of people asking me, should we move to EB3? I don't know the answer. To be honest, right now, we cannot really calculate the trend, the way things are going. We are going to see probably a jump, because a lot of companies are going to abandon their petitions. They're not going to go ahead and finish the labor certification, etc. But if you're reaching your 6 years extension and you don't have any I-140, any I-140 from anywhere, you won't be able to get an extension unless you have a pending labor for more than labor certification for more than 365 days. So in this case, one of the options that we are looking at if you qualify for national interest waiver. People from India with a national interest waiver doesn't get a lot of benefits except that I-140 that can ultimately help them, because a national interest waiver doesn't really require an employer, and it doesn't require labor certification. And if we file it, you get it approved, although there's no premium on it. It will help you down the road to get an extension on the H-1B. Plus, also it stays with you. So you change job, you move on, you do all the things normal, and you can still keep something. And it is important that you make sure that all the things that people do, make sure that you stay compliant. I mean, if you have to maintain some kind of legal position, make sure you file those cases. And if you need help, 510-742-5887, you can call us. We can help you file those paperwork. And also, for people who want a second opinion, or you want to know what is your situation, we can also we are doing phone consultation, of course, and we can help you on that. So I'm going to have Sharif hopefully aboard in a few minutes, and I want him to discuss a little bit. We will still be opening the studio lines, Michael. We're not going to take a lot of callers, but a few of them we can take. 510-657-1170. 510-657-1170. There are many things definitely that is not clear. We have not really gotten a situation of where we can actually kind of tell you for sure how things are going to unfold after the shelter. Although I know a lot of states reopened, and it's not really the case in California. But ultimately, this is going to create problems for all of us, and definitely it is creating a lot of frustrations, and people are upset what's going on. But hey, you have to bear with us because it is happening, and even at the USCIS we are seeing things that we never seen. For example, we have a case where we file under a certain category, and then we got a letter basically saying denying another category, but nobody ever asked for that one. So it is becoming something very, very common. Mistakes are happening because people are under stress, and you have to bear with everybody. You have to bear with the company. You have to bear with the USCIS. You have to bear with your lawyer too, because there's no way we can really get things. I think Sharif is there. Sharif, are you there?
Yes. How are you, attorney?
Hey, Sharif. Welcome. I was talking a little bit before you come in about national interest waiver, how it is important now to have it, at least even an EB2. And of course, if you get an EB1 is better, but it is important now to have this I-140, because a lot of people, by losing their jobs, their companies are not continuing on their labor certification, and as such, they are stuck. Once they reach 6 years, they cannot extend their H-1B. So I wanted you to discuss a little bit about that. I know you're fasting, so I'm not going to make you talk a lot because I'm fasting too, but at the same time, we need to inform the people how things are going and what we are doing to help them.
Of course. Yeah, thank you so much, Attorney Shah, and happy Ramadan to everyone out there, and hope everyone is doing well. I think one thing that we look at that is very, very important in terms of the situation that's taking place and potential for layoffs. I know that, for example, many of our clients are in the tech industry, and while mostly I think people have been safe, particularly if you're in, like cloud-based technology areas, the demand for this skill sets are actually increasing. So there is, still lots of economic opportunity for, highly skilled people. But to the extent that there are things, that are, at risk, or positions at risk, the national interest waiver, like you mentioned, is really an important tool. And I would say more broadly, self-petition is really the most powerful idea that exists within the employment-based immigration system, because otherwise you're going to be at the mercy of the employer. And I think that's partly by design in terms of, the lobbyists in Congress that have really controlled the way the situation has manifested. and how the corporations and large companies are able to, remain in control of workers. I've seen a lot of horror stories in terms of, when individuals, are working within an organization and companies either withhold or, somehow try to undermine the I-140 process on behalf of the employee. So that's why the self-petition options are so important. And when we're thinking about national interest waiver, for example, I just spoke with an individual. I don't want to reveal, classified, confidential information. But for example, an individual who has a priority date in, 2010 or, late 2009, and that person is on the country quota wait for India, and they've been waiting all of these years, almost, a decade or more. And for them, you want to preserve that priority date and your entire situation. So if, for example, that person is looking at a layoff and no longer looking at an employer sponsoring them, a national interest waiver is a no-brainer in that situation. And frankly, anyone that wants to preserve the priority date. And this individual, we actually decided to do the national interest waiver, and it's going to be very successful. And he, accepted a position abroad that was, actually really nice, great benefits and everything. And while his national interest waiver is completed, then he can, come back, and that will remain with him. He's not dependent on the U.S. employer for his green card anymore. So, those are really awesome tools that are there that people are not really taking advantage of. I always hear from, my clients that, look, nobody's ever told me about national interest waiver. How could it be? Or, we didn't discuss it in, the forums or anywhere else. Well, that doesn't mean anything. What if something exists under the law and you are able to, take advantage of that, that's to your benefit. You don't want to just, follow the crowd and, if that's going to be detrimental to your interest. This is a very, very great tool, and many of you qualify for it.
Yes, let me add something on this, Sharif, and one of the things that I hear a lot is many people say, okay, what is that? I never heard of it. The reason is that many lawyers don't touch it. The reason they don't touch it is because it requires a lot of knowledge, not only of the law, but also the technicalities, how to put it together. Because here we are dealing with people who are experts in their field, and preparing a case requires also the lawyer to have a knowledge of what is really happening out there. And that's one of the things that many people see, that their lawyer will tell them, oh, you don't qualify for it, or we don't see it, because they take a different approach. Tell us a little bit, Sharif, what kind of approach we take that makes the difference, because we do make the difference. I'm not lying about it. It's the truth, because I myself was doing the different approach and it was not working. But now we have taken, since like 2.5 years now, I think, we've been doing that, and we have taken different approach, and it does work, right? Tell us a little bit about this approach.
Sure. I think a lot of folks need to understand that in April of 2017, and I don't think it's so much that the previous approach was wrong in any way. I would just say that it changed, from April of 2017, and this isn't a Trump thing. I think that it's just simply a more conservative approach that you see in a lot of the Republican administrations if we track the history. And at that time, what the government adjudicators started to implement was a process that was called the plain language meaning of the statute. So under the plain language meaning of the statute approach, we really need to look at the specific Immigration Naturalization Act provision that applies to either, in this case, we're talking about national interest waiver or an EB-1A, and determine how and why the client will, meet that specific statutory construction. And when we're looking at it, previously we had what was called the totality of the circumstances test. So under totality of the circumstances, you'll have the government officer make a lot of inferences or assumptions. Basically what they would do is if you present a case, they were willing to look past the four corners of the page. They were willing to, assume certain things or take advantage of certain, general knowledge. Now you have to be very, very deliberate and exact with the entirety of your petition. And the way that we do this is we build the petition inside out. So not only are we, if most of our clients that have been approved, were probably laughed out of many different law firms because those people said that, there's no way you can be approved for national interest waiver or EB1A. And what we've said to them is, look, what we need to do, if you provide me all of the evidence that you have today and ask me to submit your case, sure, there's no way that we're going to be able to get it approved. But if you work with us and you follow our guidance over a period of time, then you will reach a point where you will be approvable. That is the difference, I think, that we offer in terms of our services. So maybe it might end up being a little bit more, expensive, but that is the only way that an individual will be able to qualify who does not have a very traditional, straightforward case, because it needs that extra attention and construction of narrative, I would say. It's very, very important to construct a sound narrative that's going to be attractive in terms of the adjudicating officer and how they look at your case. So this is, again, it's more art than science, but ultimately it is a success approach, and, that's what we're all about at the end of the day is the results.
Let me kind of, again, add this on this, Sharif, because a lot of people, most of our clients are in the engineering field, and they think mathematically, so 1 + 1 = 2. But when it comes to law, it depends what side you're looking at, and sometimes 1 + 1 doesn't always equal to 2. That's how the law has been working forever. It's not a system of you plug in and you get it. And this is where preparing those cases, preparing those petitioner's letter makes the big difference, because you can have a lot of good evidence to make your case, but if you are not able to put it together and explain, as if explaining to a child where you're going with this, why you deserve this, you're not going to make it. And that's not something, fortunately, your team has this talent, and yourself, and it is very, very important, and that's what made the difference on many of those cases. And I've seen myself sometimes when I look at them, I say, no, this one is not doable. But then suddenly after a while I see an approval, and I'm very impressed myself, because when we took the case, we told the client, hey, your chances are low, but if you want to go ahead, we can still go ahead, and we see an approval. Of course, that doesn't mean every case we can get a national interest waiver, but many people do qualify on a national interest waiver or on an EB1, and also ultimately on an O1 visa. And I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about that in a minute, just letting people know this is Attorney Shah Peerally. We are live today, and today is May 7th, 2020. We are in the shelter, I don't know how to call it exactly anymore, of COVID, and a lot of people I know are suffering and are dying, and I really, my heart goes to all those people, especially people in the healthcare sector, and they are really suffering. And if you need help on anything immigration, especially on those EB1 national interest waivers, give us a call, 510-742-5887, 510-742-5887. We'll also be opening the studio lines. If you have questions on immigration, we will be taking few callers, 510-657-1170, 510-657-1170. Sharif, tell us a little bit about, because right now another problem we're seeing, a lot of people didn't make it to the H-1B, but they do qualify for things like O1, and that's another service we can give them, and the company needs them, but there's no H-1B, and those companies are not for profit, so we need to find a solution for them. Tell us a little bit about the O1 visa.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more, I think, inquiries with O1 since, I think, the past, obviously since the H-1B cutoff. But what we want to advise people is sometimes the company attorneys our firms tend to go with a very strict template approach. I've seen this in many cases where an individual's, for example, they could be on an OPT or some other status, their H-1B does not get picked up. The employer really wants this talented individual to come on board or remain in the organization. However, they don't know how to do it. And, the company attorneys may not be willing to kind of go the extra mile. So that is why it is always important for you as an individual to seek out and have, counsel. And those, listeners out there that are in the HR arena, I know we have a lot of listeners that are just, HR for different companies because they want to get the advice. You really need to make sure that you're exhausting all of the options that are available within the immigration system. So the way the O1 can be very, very powerful tool is that it will allow an individual to remain working without even having to meet the prevailing wage requirements. So really what you need is the employer sponsor, first and foremost. So once you have the employer sponsor, then you go through a similar process as EB-1A, where you have the specific requirements under the sustained acclaim criteria that need to be met. In reality, the O1 process is much, much easier than the EB-1A. I mean, it is, I would say, far less scrutinized. And I could give you an example. If you take, for instance, the professional membership criteria, so under the O1A, it is stated the same way as it is under the EB-1A. However, when the officers are reviewing it, our data tends to show that they're much more flexible with the kind of professional organizations that one can be a member of under an O1A than an EB-1A, where they're, looking for example, something that is really, a higher threshold requiring, outstanding achievement and not being an organization where you pay for membership. So with the O1A, you have far less scrutiny. It is very doable, very possible for people out there that are working in the, IT or engineering field to qualify. And, I think one thing that does really help, whether it's O1A, whether it's EB-1A, or whether it's national interest waiver, is understanding your field of endeavor and how that impacts your case. This is one of the biggest, most common mistakes that people make. And I think that this is worth really reaching out to us so that we can analyze your case. Whether you want to go forward or not, it is really, really important because oftentimes, for example, folks say, look, my field is computer science or my field is, data science. But when we look at it from a different approach. We want to dig deeper because think about it, whether it's O1A or EB-1A or national interest waiver, what ultimately the government is looking for is to see whether the individual is highly advanced within their specific field of endeavor. So under an O1 or EB-1A, you're looking at, have you risen to the very top of your field? If you're looking at a national interest waiver, the legal requirement is, do you work in an area that is of national importance and substantial merit? And are you well positioned to advance this area of endeavor? So it is all about your area of endeavor, your field of endeavor. So one who is in the computer science world or in the data science world, we need to really better define your field. So for example, if you are working on AI-driven analytics, okay, then the way that I would describe your field is not I'm in IT doing automation. No, I'll say I am building artificial intelligence-driven advanced analytics platforms. For example, right? And this is just from top of my head, from experience, how I would describe that. So you really need to find a way to recast yourself and not follow the, template approach of do I have awards? Do I have publication? Do I have whatever? That doesn't really matter as much as whether we can make an argument that you have risen to the very highest level of your field of endeavor. Ultimately, that is the test. In all three of these areas, and particularly the two self-petition EB-1A national interest waiver and the extraordinary ability non-immigrant visa ONA, it really matters what your field of endeavor is articulated. In fact, I'll just, maybe this is revealing a little too much of our secrets, but, what the heck? When we're approaching the case, right, when we're approaching the actual government officer, the first thing that we're going to do is not talk about how wonderful you are and how many awards you have and all that kind of thing. The first thing we're going to do is articulate to them what your field of endeavor is. So I'm going to say that, for example, Mr. Shah Peerally is applying as an individual of extraordinary ability. I'm not going to say his field of endeavor is law. I'm going to say, because look how many people he's going to compete against. I'm going to narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down until I get to a very narrow field where I say, he is an expert in employment-based immigration law. Now, rather than compete against 3 million people, I've narrowed it down to a point where there's only maybe 3,000, 2,000 such individuals that work in his space, and I can measure his accomplishments, his merits against those other individuals' accomplishments and merits. So ultimately, that is what will achieve the successful result.
Exactly. So thank you so much, Sharif. I just wanted to remind people this is Attorney Shah Peerally for the Shah Peerally Law Show, and today we have Attorney Sharif who handles all our office. He's our partner in the office of in Washington D.C., and he really takes care of all those cases. And now we are seeing more and more, Sharif. Things are very different. Now I want you to kind of put now the EB-1 into perspective with the COVID-19, because the COVID-19 has changed the world. We're hearing the word New World Order now from the mainstream, which is kind of interesting. And it is a New World Order, not probably the way the conspiracy theorists see it, but it is. And at the same time, a lot of people, especially now we have all those research into virus, there is a need, especially many states are looking for people to help on the medical team, on the research team. Many of our universities and other places are looking for those people of extraordinary abilities. Having said that, we're not talking about finding a job with those universities. We're just showing that they're looking for those people, and because like you say, you can streamline them, put them in those categories, they can qualify for an EB-1. Tell us a little bit what you have seen lately, because we're getting a lot of calls on EB-1, by the way, and it is important, and we can also use the priority date. We'll talk about that next. But if people need help, feel free to reach out, 510-742-5887. The website to check, attorneyonair.com. And we have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it, youtube.com, Shah Peerally Law. And it's not Peerally Law, but Shah Peerally Law, my full name. Please subscribe to it, because we update things as we go every week on this. So tell us, Sharif, a little bit how the EB-1 now is going to be incorporating with that COVID-19 situation.
Yeah. So, look, I think that there's the direct impacted areas, and then there's the indirected impacted areas. So with respect to the direct impacted areas, if you're talking about actual hospital workers, frontline physicians, frontline individuals that are dealing directly with the pandemic, then I think we're looking more at a national interest waiver perspective. Whether it's physician national interest waiver or non-physician national interest waiver, just like medical researchers, for example, I think you will find lots of traction with national interest waiver. I mean, it's pretty much I'd never like to say a guaranteed case, but I mean, it's damn near a guaranteed case. With respect to, I think the EB-1A, what I have seen and what I've been taking, enormous advantage of in terms of strategically has been two areas. Number one is the clinical cloud platforms. I think there's a lot of people that are working in this healthcare-related, cloud environment, and that is really, really hot, big-time demand, big-time, level of, extraordinary ability arguments to be made there, and, how we can really position you in that field is really powerful. The other one is facilitating telemedicine. So, nowadays, obviously people are immediately woke up and everybody jumped on Zoom, but I think there's starting to be the backlash in terms of, using Zoom, and where someone is going to be having a very, very private or important, conversation with their medical providers. It's not going to be a Zoom situation anymore. So there needs to be, I think, more specific types of data protection, security involved, and a lot of our, client base really has that expertise. So I think if you are in that arena, if you're in that kind of, area, whether it's, anything kind of healthcare related, pretty much, we can look at your case and decide whether there's an argument to be made. But I would say in particular, specifically, definitely telemedicine, having physicians, facilitating the physician relationship, patient relationship, is really, special and powerful. So I think that is really, an enormous post-COVID field that is not going away. I mean, it's not going to be something that, it's going to be here for the next, 6 months or 8 months while we're dealing with the crisis. It's going to be the new norm. And I would try to think about that in terms of a lot of other things as well, as what is the new normal, right? And I think you're going to see a lot of this in terms of, people not necessarily maybe, obviously working from home, more often, but also definitely, what other things are they going to do from distance? And, it could be whether it's the interactions that we have with our education. I mean, look at the education world. It's completely changed overnight. In addition to, the work that we do together, I'm also on a board of education of a school. And in my capacity as a, school board of education, we've had to look at so many different technology, solutions for our students and our school. So this is, really, really a very big deal. And, like how large and of an industry, this education field is, and what kind of tools, are there in terms of, the situation. The other area I would say is really, really, really post-COVID is going to be number one, I think, in terms of our, overall EB1A, is probably not something a lot of people are thinking about, which is the relationship with China. The relationship with China and the amount of information protection need that exists right now from a security engineer standpoint is, I would say off the charts, literally off the charts. And, for example, I think that, one such case we've done recently is DNA protection, right? Because you have now DNA databases, right? And where are these being held? They're just being held on, cloud of, whatever organization, and, how this data is protected. So when we're talking about data migration, it becomes a new onus on the organizations, on the government, on everyone to really protect this information. So, framing things in terms of, competition or threat from, foreign adversaries, that is enormously important for both national interest waiver and EB1A. Again, a lot of people have this misconception with EB1A where they're just looking at the 10 criteria and do I meet the criteria. but there's a big thing that they're overlooking, which is called the prospective benefit argument. You must demonstrate that you will prospectively benefit the U.S., that you're going to bring about future benefit to the United States. And that future benefit, I mean, what other better argument can you make in terms of, working in an area that is beneficial to U.S. interests than to protect it from its foreign adversaries? There's a lot of paranoia, obviously, about China, and look, I mean, our job is to get a green card in your pocket. It's not to worry about what's right and what's wrong in terms of the U.S. political, system. So what we're doing is we're here to make sure that, we're up to date and very knowledgeable about all of these factors and use those to your advantage.
Exactly. And just to add a little bit on that, we do worry, but we don't really put that in our work. Our work is very objective, and we will help anybody as long as we are serving justice. And that's the truth. Right now, you are definitely right, Sharif, because a lot of people are panicking what's happening in China, although and many companies are leaving China. And even using Zoom, some people are saying that, hey, it's not safe, etc. But at the end of the day, all those things that were being done in China will have to be done somewhere. And many companies are moving to other countries like India, Indonesia, Turkey, and things like that. But they still need staff here to basically kind of supervise or work with them. Or some are moving directly back to the U.S., especially the service sector. And in those cases, they will need people of knowledge to really take care of them, and the EB1 is a good option. And just to let people know, this is Attorney Shah Peerally. We're live today. It's May 7th, 2020. We are in the shelter at home time, and we are all talking about the future world, what will happen, although we don't know what will happen, nobody knows, but we know also there are few things that will be needed, and this is where we're targeting on the EB1. Because, number one, it's a self-petition. You don't need an employer to get it. Number two, we are targeting also national interest waiver. Same thing. You don't need an employer. And, of course, O1 visa. And also for some people who live who have citizenship in other countries, you can also look. Right now, I don't think they are opening the E2 visa, but this is something that we might look into later. But right now, the focus is the EB1. And if you need help, feel free to reach out. 510-742-5887, 510-742-5887. And for people, I know a lot of people, whenever we discuss with Sharif, they don't call because they listen to the show. So you can always call at our office if you need a consultation, 510-742-5887. And Sharif, before I let you go, I think we have another 5 more minutes. So go ahead, tell us a little bit what is going on now with some of our cases. I know a lot of people are worried that, hey, can they still file? Are they still eligible? Things like that. These have not changed because even the suspension has not affected those, right?
No, I think it was more of the paper tiger. Trump executive order has no applicability to individuals who are in the United States. This was a temporary restriction that only applied to entry of individuals. So if you have an approved I-140 that is current, you can proceed with filing your adjustment of status. And if you need advice, you can obviously call our office and we'll help you with the adjustment of status. But ultimately, the present situation has not changed at all for our applicants. So anybody that is pursuing or interested in pursuing EB1A, national interest waiver, O1A, or any other category of immigration, you have no restrictions in terms of your ability to file. Now, one other area I think just in the post-COVID world that we've been seeing interest in and trying to take some advantage of is the kind of interesting, I think a lot of people probably won't think of it that way, is the actual product line distribution. Because if you think about it, one of the main problems right now that exists is securing a lot of the main products. So when we're looking at the optimization of supply chains, right, that is really, really a very important area. And a lot of the supply chain optimization efforts right now are really being done by people who are, contractors. And maybe you work for a contracting firm and you're assigned to a, let's say, for example, Tyson Foods, and you're dealing with, supply chain management or supply chain optimization. I mean, you have the well-being and, nutritional, well-being of the entire society under your, purview. So those are really, really important roles, supply chain management. And then the other one is manufacturing. If you look at manufacturing as it relates to the automation and lowering the cost of manufacturing so that we can compete with China and compete with other countries, that is really, really the enormous opportunity that exists right now for many of our clients. If you think about it, that is one of the main things that really caused the problem to spin out of control in the U.S., is that there was a lack of manufacturing within the U.S. for many of the essential, goods and items that were needed, whether it was medical or masks or, different kinds of, the breathing machines, etc. So what you're seeing now is kind of a backlash in terms of having a lot of these things offshore. And we need our, automation experts within the U.S. to kind of help guide the organizations and, economy in such a way that will allow these things to emerge and be successful. So you really have to get in. There's a saying is get in where you fit in. And, that is ultimately what you need to do, is you really want to get in right now while the situation allows for, certain arguments to be made, and that we can really optimize your case.
Exactly. So, Sharif, I just wanted to, we almost done with the show in 5 minutes. 7 more minutes we have, but I want you to give some kind of recap of what we can do, and possibly, and also people who are on potential EB1C or EB1B, if they need help, we can help them, of course, but that will require an employer, so we are not discussing about that today, but we can also help on those. And of course, there are so many things that are happening right now, but what immediately you will recommend the people to do? Call us, let us do an assessment, and tell us a little bit, and they can call us 510-742-5887. Tell us some final words, Sharif, and then I'll let you go. I know you're tired. It's Ramadan today.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Look, I think that one of the best things to do is to think about this in terms of a self-petition option. You, particularly individuals who earn a high salary, if you're over, I would say, 180,000, but definitely if you're over 200,000 and you are on an H-1B, you don't know what the situation is with your employer, look, you need to look at your self-petition options. I have done many, many cases where we do both because it's almost like the same evidence can be positioned for EB1A and national interest waiver. And you have both options available. And the beauty of this is if you file under both EB1A and national interest waiver, it does not impact your existing status. There's nothing that could be lost by doing this. If you're on an F1 OPT, for example, that might be a different scenario. So I want to be careful about how I put things. But for those of you who are on an H-1B with an existing I-140 and you wish to move forward and apply under EB-1A or national interest waiver, there's no negative impact on your existing employment-based immigration approval. All right, so that is very, very clear. In fact, you'll benefit from your existing EB-1A approval because we will port your priority date from your existing employer-sponsored I-140 to the present national interest waiver, or EB1A submission. So that is an enormous benefit that you can take advantage of. Ultimately, these are the tools that are there to change your life and situation for the better, and what we are about is making sure that that happens. We have laser focus on getting the results, and that is, at the end of the day, all that really matters.
Exactly. So, Sharif, basically what we are telling people is that take matters in your own hands now, because it's like that for everybody. It's the same for us. It's for other people, but you still have a chance in staying here, and the national interest waiver or the EB1 can be a good option. Even if you're leaving, you're planning to go and go somewhere or something, you can still count on that. It will keep running. So I will recommend that you actually contact us, 510-742-5887, or you can email us info@peerallylaw.com. You can find our email on our website, attorneyonair.com. Subscribe to our channel, and anything we told you today is my opinion, Sharif's opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. So, Sharif, one final word before I let you go.
Yeah, the final word is exactly what you said. I mean, this is America. In America, you take things into your own hands. That is the entire system is all about. That's what makes America America. So if you don't take matters into your own hands and you depend on others, then you get railroaded. If you take matters into your own hands and you protect your interests and pursue your interests to the full extent the law allows, that will produce results. I mean, there's no more to it than that.
Thank you so much, Sharif. We'll be back with you hopefully in couple of weeks. Thank you, everybody. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about before we go about debt settlement, because this is another which a lot of people are talking about, because for one, a lot of people are depending on their credit cards right now, using it, and ultimately they will, if they get a job, perfect, they will continue paying, but if they don't, or if you already have used it and you are going through difficulties, we can help you get out of those debts by filing what we call a debt settlement. It's not filing, it's negotiating a debt settlement. And debt settlement is not very, it doesn't work like other things, unfortunately, because the problem is for a debt settlement is many times people find themselves with huge debts, right? For example, you keep using your credit cards, and then suddenly you find yourself not having a job, and now with COVID losing the job, or ultimately your spouse also. What happens next? Bankruptcy is one option, but not many people will qualify for bankruptcy, and it's a headache. And debt settlement can be an option. We negotiate those debts. We can do it for credit cards. We can do it for second mortgages, sometimes if the house went down, etc. So call us 510-742-5887, 510-742-5887. You can check yourdebtsettlementattorney.com, yourdebtsettlementattorney.com, and we can help you on kind of guide you and basically work with you. The way we work with debt settlement, we pretty much negotiate those debts and come with a value. And for example, let's say you owe $20,000 on credit cards. We might be able to negotiate it, bring it to maybe $5,000, $7,000. It's not like I'm just giving an example here, okay? It doesn't mean you will get that. But once you pay that, they'll forgive you the rest of the money, and you can start over and rebuild your credit, because you already kind of messed it up if you have not been paying. And many times people rebuilt it clearly, and I've known people for years now. We've been doing that almost for 9 years now, and we had some very successful results. So please take advantage of that, because right now it's not like you made up the hardship. Things are happening, and we unfortunately are in a time when everybody is under pressure. And without really kind of finding solutions, you're just going to get stuck. Like Sharif was saying, in America, you have to take matters in your hands, and nobody's going to come and give you things for free. We have gotten a little bit stimulus package, although a lot of people didn't get anything. But you should take matters in your own hands. So I will highly recommend, if you need help, please make sure that you talk to an attorney who who has some kind of knowledge of how things are going, and don't just give up, and don't just let things go on their own, because you will ultimately not be the winner in those cases. And again, this is Attorney Shah Peerally from the Shah Peerally Law Group. We are live today. We had Attorney Sharif with us, and we were talking. I have Michael with me today. Let us kind of recap what Sharif said, because I kind of made a mistake on the timing. I miscalculated, but that's fine. So I just wanted to let you know that we can help you if you need help, and one of the way we can help you is actually to make sure that you take the right approach on your case, right? You're going to keep trying to get into what we call basically trying to get the company to work with you, which is good, but many times some company will not work with you, because the reason they're not working with you is ultimately because they feel like they can't afford you. But that doesn't mean everything is done. You might be able to get something on your own. This is when EB1 or National Interest Waiver comes in, and at least you have it and you lock your priority date, and that ultimately will bring you to hopefully bring you to success. Because at the end of the day, if you're not able to find anything in terms of a job immediately, at least you secure the green card, and even if you leave, the dates will continue, the priority date will continue running, and then later on when the dates becomes current, you can always come back and get your green card. And this is something that a lot of people have not thought about, but right now you have to think about it, because things have changed. Definitely things have changed to a point that we are no longer kind of it's not really a normal time, definitely, but at the same time you cannot just sit down and let things happen. And we can help you if you want a consultation at least, or you want to know what happens next to you. You can at least get a second opinion with me. You can call our office 510-742-5887. It doesn't have to be National Interest Waiver or EB1. It can be anything immigration. You're a student. You need some kind of advice what you do next. You're stuck in America. You need to know what you do next. You need help filing some kind of paperwork because you don't feel comfortable filing on your own. We are here for you. So it is important that you talk to a lawyer who understands what he is doing, because otherwise what will happen is that if you don't talk to someone who understands what he's doing, you might get more problems down the road. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Attorney Shah Peerally. I wanted to thank you all for listening to the show. Michael, I don't know how much time I'm left, but I just wanted to remind you that we are here. We're still operating even under the shelter at home. We're working from home, but bear with us because things are not moving that fast, but we're still getting things done. And I wanted to congratulate again today our team. We got 2 approvals yesterday and today, and many of them under H4, H4EAD. They are approving them not pretty fast, but faster than it was happening before. So call us if you need help, 510-742-5887. Very important, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because if I have a message to pass, I'm using the YouTube channel. I don't use Twitter or things like that. I usually use the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Shah Peerally Law, SHAHPEERALLYLAW, and Shah Peerally Law, youtube.com/Shah Peerally Law. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back the same time next week from 10 a.m. to approximately till 11. So keep listening, and I wanted to thank you all. And again, everything I told you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. And the same applies for Sharif. Anything he told you today is his opinion, so you should not act and refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. See you next week. Thank you, Mike.